Hi, Girl Scouts. I'm going to give just a few seconds for everyone to come on. All right, well, it looks like we have some viewers watching right now. So hello, everyone. My name is Kat. I am the program specialist here in North Platte, Nebraska. And today we are going to be talking to Alicia from Conservation Nebraska. And she's going to be talking to us about some environmental issues that are pressing today. The things that you're going to learn about here today are some of the issues that you can look into when you go to get your Eco Advocate badge. That is the Ambassador Eco Advocate. So Alicia, would you like to take us away?
Yeah, I'm just pulling up my presentation here. So when it comes to becoming an eco advocate, one thing you need to know first are what are the pressing issues that we're facing globally and locally. So we're going to go over that as soon as I get this pulled up.
All right, so while we're waiting, if you guys want to let us know where you're watching from, we'd love to know. And if you have any environmental issues that you are passionate about, go ahead and say something in the comments. We'd love to know what you think we should be working on and what you hope to help change in the future. How are those technical issues going there, Alicia?
I'm almost there. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
good. We can see your slide.
Good. So I'll start off a little bit while this is still loading. So some of the environmental issues that we're facing right now are climate change is the biggest one, then energy, water, air pollution, waste management or plastic pollution, and deforestation. So when it comes to climate change is a change in global or regional climate patterns in a particular change that is apparent, in particular a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards and attributed to largely increasing levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by use of fossil fuels. So what it means is that we've seen changes happening that aren't due to orbital or normal weather changes. They're happening because of the increased levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, And climate change is something that we can all fight from home by using products in our own homes that will help make our carbon footprint smaller. So that could be using less single-use plastic, that could be buying locally from food sources that you know more about, that could be eating less meat to put less carbon into the atmosphere, because agriculture is one of the biggest contributors to carbon being put into the atmosphere. And then also being conscious of what kind of packaging is on what you're buying. So you want to, again, decrease your single-use plastic, because when plastic builds up in the landfills, it puts off methane gas, which is one of the worst greenhouse gases and contributes to climate change faster than carbon dioxide itself. Let's see. And then we can go into energy. So for energy, fossil fuels, including coal, oil, and natural gas, are currently the world's primary energy source. It is formed from organic material over the course of millions of years. Fossil fuels have fueled US and global economic development for over the past century. And fossil fuels can contribute to land degradation. So that happens when unearthing, processing, and moving underground oil, gas, and coal deposits take an enormous toll on our landscapes and ecosystems. The fossil fuel industry leases vast stretches of land for infrastructure such as wells, pipelines, access roads, as well as facilities for processing waste storage and waste disposal. In the case of strip mining, entire swaths of terrain, including forests and whole mountaintops, are scraped and blasted away to expose underground coal or oil. Even after operations cease, the nutrient leached land will never return to what it once was. So it's completely destroying land. So that could be from, like I said earlier, forests to mountaintops. And then as a result, critical wildlife habitat, so land crucial for breeding and migration, ends up fragmented and destroyed. Even animals able to leave can end up suffering, as they're forced into less than ideal habitat and must compete with existing wildlife resources. Another thing fossil fuels can contribute to is water pollution. So coal, oil, and gas development pose threats to our waterways and groundwater. Coal mining operations wash acid runoff into streams, rivers, lakes, and dump into vast quantities of unwanted rock and soil into streams. Oil spills and leaks during extraction or transportation, can pollute drinking water sources and jeopardize entire freshwater or ocean ecosystems. Fracking and its toxic fluids also can be found to contaminate water, a fact that the Environmental Protection Agency was slow to recognize. All drilling, fracking, and mining operations generate enormous volumes of wastewater, which can be laden with heavy metals, radioactive materials, and other pollutants. Industries store this waste in open air pits or underground wells that can leak or overflow into waterways and contaminate aquifers with pollutants linked to cancer, birth defects, and neurological damage. And then as far as emissions, fossil fuels emit harmful air pollutants long before they're burned. Some 12.6 million Americans are exposed daily to toxic air pollution from active oil and gas wells and from transportation and processing facilities. These include benzene, which is linked to blood disorders, and formaldehyde, which is a cancer-causing chemical. A booming fracking industry will bring that pollution to more backyards, despite mounting evidence of the practice's serious health impacts. Mining operations aren't any better, especially for the miners themselves, generating toxic airborne particulate matter. Strip mining, particularly in places such as Canada's boreal forest, can release giant carbon stores held naturally in the wild. So that's putting more carbon into the atmosphere. And then it can also lead to ocean acidification, which when you burn oil, coal, and gas can change the ocean's basic chemistry, making it more acidic. Our seas absorb as much as a quarter of all man-made carbon emissions. Since the start of the Industrial Revolution and our coal-burning ways, the ocean has become 30% more acidic. As the acidity in the water goes up, the amount of calcium carbonate, a substance used by oysters, lobsters, and other marine organisms that form shells, goes down. This can slow growth rates, weaken shells, and decimate entire food chains. Ocean acidification impacts coastal communities as well in the Pacific Northwest. It's estimated to have cost the oyster industry millions of dollars and thousands of jobs. So I'm just gonna go back here for a minute because I have a video on climate change 101.
We hear it so much that it feels like a buzzword, but it is far from it. Climate change is a real and serious issue. But isn't the climate always changing? What exactly is climate changing? Why should we care? Well, the Earth's climate has changed throughout history. Most of these slight changes are caused by small variations in the Earth's orbit. But climate change as we know it today is characterized by an abrupt increase in the Earth's temperature. It is estimated to have gotten 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit warmer in just the last century. 10 out of the last 13 years were the warmest on record. 97% of climate scientists agree that this new tendency is not caused by the variations of the Earth's orbit, but rather very likely caused by human activities. That means you and me. And since the Industrial Revolution, we have come a long way. Humans built airplanes, faster cars, developed remarkable technology, and learned how the natural resources around us can be used for our benefit. Although this has led to many wonderful inventions and advancements, like the device you're using to watch this video, or the ability to take a plane halfway around the world, it also means we've increased our consumption of natural resources and in turn released a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Now, greenhouse gases occur naturally, but in excess can be dangerous to our planet. Modern human activities have increased the release of non-naturally occurring greenhouse gases because we have stepped up our demand for burning fossil fuels. The composition of greenhouse gases traps heat radiating from the sun. The more heat they trap, the warmer our planet gets. And as our planet gets warmer, we begin to feel the effects. One of climate change's biggest victims is our oceans. Oceans regulate the Earth's temperature and provide 50% of the Earth's oxygen. Climate change has increased the global temperature of the oceans by more than 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit since 1969. Although a warmer ocean might seem inviting to a beachgoer, it actually has devastating consequences for supporting life at sea. One of those consequences is ocean acidification, a direct effect of increased dissolved CO2. Since the late 18th century, ocean surface acidification has increased by 30%. A higher acid content means calcifying species, like oysters and clams and shallow water corals, are at risk, putting the entire ocean food web at risk. This is bad news for the 1 billion people relying on the ocean as its primary source of protein. Climate change has also caused the sea level to rise. Just in the last century, sea levels have risen 6.7 inches, but the rate in the last decade is nearly double. Sea levels have risen because as the ocean gets warmer, it swells. On top of that, glaciers and ice sheets are melting. Ice between 2000.
looks like we're gonna end that video. So the next issue would be with water, which we already started talking about a little bit. When it comes to so one of the future water issues across the globe. Water scarcity. Water scarcity is the lack of fresh water.
Hey, Alicia. I muted you for a second because the interference with the video is kind of messing with your microphone. So I'm gonna unmute you real quick and see if that'll help. Go ahead and say something. No. Try again.
Can you hear me?
So I can hear you. It's just very robotic and there's a lot of like feedback we're getting. So I think what we're gonna do you want to exit full screen or exit your share screen and so maybe if you log out and come back into the Zoom. We'll be right back. Just some technical difficulties. It happens sometimes. So she'll be back in just a few seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link for that video from Bill Nye in the comments of this post here and make sure that you guys can see that. So I'll do that right now. All right, so she's not come back on yet, but she'll be back on momentarily. Here she comes. And you're back.
Yes, is that better now?
100 times better. I think if you just talk to the girls at this point, that'll be good. You can email me your PowerPoint and then the link for that Bill Nye video, and I'll make sure that that gets out to the girls that are watching today.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying with the water scarcity, there is a lack of fresh water resources to meet the standards of water demand. Water scarcity can also be caused by droughts for lack of rainfall or pollution. So there are many different countries facing very serious water scarcity issues right now. A lot of them are on very strict water regulations, just based on how much water is available. They can only use a very small amount a day. And then in Nebraska, we had a problem, not as much with water scarcity, but there was depletion of the Ogallala Aquifer, which the NRDs have been working together across the state to stop the depletion of the Ogallala Aquifer. And a lot of them have started to meet their goals on that. And then another thing with water would be the rising sea level, which they went over a little bit in the video, which since the start of the 20th century, the average global sea level has been rising. Between 1900 and 2016, the sea level rose by 16 to 21 centimeters, more precise data has been gathered from satellite radar measurements, reveal an accelerating rise of 7.5 centimeters from 1993 to 2017, which is a trend of roughly 30 centimeters per century. And when the ocean rises, what happens is coastal towns will have severe flooding. And then even with flooding in Nebraska, we've seen the climate change with water because we've been having more weather events that have caused like the flooding that we had last year in northeast Nebraska. And then when it comes to rising water temperature, the ocean absorbs most of the excess heat from the greenhouse gas emissions, leading to the rising temperatures. Increasing ocean temperatures affect marine species and ecosystems. Rising temperatures cause coral bleaching and the loss of breeding grounds of marine fishes and mammals. So coral in the ocean is a very big ecosystem for a lot of marine species, fishes and mammals. They live there. And what coral bleaching does, because coral is like an animal and plant together. So when the coral bleaches, it doesn't go away. It's just, you can see the big coral, like where there used to be like the Great Coral Reef, there are big patches that are bleached and they will never recover. And that took out ecosystems and many like chances for breeding and affects and could even extinct certain marine species. Rising ocean temperatures also affect the benefits humans derive from the ocean, threatening food security, increasing the prevalence of diseases, and causing more extreme weather events and loss of coastal protection. Achieving the mitigation targets set by the Paris Agreement on climate change and limiting the global average temperature increase to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels is crucial to prevent the massive irreversible impacts of ocean warming on marine ecosystems and their services. Establishing marine protected areas and putting in place adaptive measures such as precautionary catch limits to prevent overfishing and can protect ocean ecosystems and shield humans from the effects of ocean warming. And then the last one for water would be pollution in the water. So there's massive plastic pollution that has created dead patches in the oceans. So to help with and it also causes the ocean warming because that being in the ocean produces the greenhouse gases, and then it also affects marine animals just by when it breaks down into the tiny little pieces, it can just like get into their diet, not necessarily on purpose or anything like that. It's just they swallow it when they're swimming because they're so small. And so for that, you can try to reduce your single-use plastic and make sure you're recycling your plastic and reusing and just not using as many straws, things like that. When it comes to air pollution is a mixture of solid particles and gases in the air, car emissions, chemicals from factories, dust, pollen, and mold spores can be suspended as particles. Ozone, a gas, is a major part of the air pollution in cities. When ozone forms air pollution, it is called smog. So that's what you can see over a lot of larger cities is smog. It'll be a brownish, grayish, just like cloudy aura around the city.
Haze.
Like a haze, yeah. And then for plastic pollution is accumulated an accumulation of plastic objects and particles in the Earth's environment that adversely affects wildlife habitat, and humans. Plastic that acts as pollutants are categorized into micro, meso, or macro debris based on size. So those are going from the smallest to the largest pieces of debris. As I said, when plastic doesn't biodegrade like paper can biodegrade. Plastic doesn't. What it does is, and it can only be recycled 2 to 3 times. So after that third time of plastic being recycled, it can't be recycled again. So what it will do is, instead of biodegrading, it just breaks into those smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, and eventually gets into the oceans and waterways, and affects the wildlife. And then our last one would be deforestation. Deforestation is the permanent removal of trees to make room for something besides forests. This can include clearing the land for agriculture or grazing, or using the timber for fuel, construction, or manufacturing. Forests cover more than 30% of the Earth's land surface, according to the World Wildlife Fund. So the effects of deforestation would be that forests can be found from the tropics to high latitude areas. They are home to 80% of terrestrial biodiversity, containing a wide array of trees, plants, animals, and microbes, including, according to the World Bank and international financial institutions, some places are especially diverse. The tropical forest of New Guinea, for example, contains more than 6% of the world's species of plants and animals. Forests provide more than a home for a diverse collection of living things. They are also an important resource for many around the world. In countries like Uganda, people rely on trees for firewood, timber, and charcoal. Over the past 25 years, Uganda has lost 63% of its forest. Families send children, primarily girls, to collect firewood, and kids have to trek farther and farther to get to the trees. Collecting enough wood often takes a day, so the children miss school. According to a 2018 report, the 3/4 of the Earth's fresh water comes from forested watersheds, and the loss of trees can affect water quality. The UN's 2018 State of the World's Forest Report found that over half of the global population relies on forested watersheds for drinking water, as well as water used for agriculture and industry. So for deforestation, the biggest issue that we saw last year was that Amazon rainforest was on fire last year, and that was due to deforestation for agriculture. And for that, we do need agriculture, but something that will help deforestation is just eating less meat in general. So doing a meatless Monday every week, or just opting to get a vegetarian choice over a meat choice every once in a while.
Well, thank you so much, Alicia. So if you would like to become an eco advocate and get your eco advocate badge as an ambassador, those are some of the topics that you can explore and learn more about. I encourage all of you to find a cause that you are passionate about and research it and do what you can to make that cause become a reality. So have a wonderful day. Tune in later today. We will be doing, let's see here. Sorry, one second. We are going to be talking about Girl Scout games and songs at 4 o'clock Central Time. And then at 10 a.m. tomorrow, that we are going to be doing a color scavenger hunt outside. So stay safe, wash your hands, and be the best Girl Scout you can be. Have a great day.